What could be more picture perfect than a town in Vermont in the fall? How about 251 towns in Vermont in the fall? Connor Knighton tells us all about it by the numbers.
Vermont is known as the Green Mountain State. But come autumn, its mountain slopes are anything but green. As the leaves turn red and yellow and orange, picturesque towns turn into tourist hotspots.
Number 53, Waterbury, Vermont. Woo!
All right.
Loretta Cruz and Erin Agnew aren't your typical leaf peepers. They've come to the town of Waterbury on their honeymoon. Sort of. When these Vermonters got married back in 2020, the pandemic forced them to cancel the trip they'd originally planned and stay closer to home instead.
We had to think about, well, what are we going to do for a honeymoon? So
Go to every town in Vermont was the
Go to
answer?
every town in Vermont, that's right. And that extends the honeymoon. It's more than just one trip, too.
At this rate, the honeymoon period could last for well over a decade. They've been taking trips whenever they can get away, taking tips from the many members of the 251 Club.
Our first town was Brookfield. We wanted to see the floating bridge.
You'll be in Randolph.
The 251 Club is a group dedicated to exploring all of Vermont's towns and cities.
Every town that has a brewery you want to go to.
At their annual meeting, they gather together to talk about their journeys.
are we doing it together? Are there rules? Tim is very competitive, so he feels there should be rules.
It's got to be rules.
Lynn and I...
But there aren't any rules.
I've heard it said that we are a lawless organization, right? That kind of the only rule is that you have to love Vermont and want to explore it.
Mike Leonard is on the board of the 251 Club, which has maintained its name even though Vermont now technically has 252 towns. Like he said, the rules are loose. When he was 20, he hit the towns on a road trip with two of his pals.
And so I took it on as a challenge to really explore what it does mean to be a Vermonter.
Some of the towns, only had 5 or 6 people in them.
Esther Farnsworth didn't start her quest until she was 90.
There are a lot of places in Vermont that I haven't seen. So I just decided I'd go. And
now 93, Farnsworth made it through the list in 2.5 years.
And I know the best places in Vermont to get ice cream. Ben & Jerry's isn't the only one, there are some others too.
The 251 Club was first proposed in a 1954 issue of Vermont Life magazine. Poet Arthur Peach wrote that Vermont, from the beginning, has been a state of towns, and in them only can the real Vermont be found and seen. In the town of Thetford, you can see the Vermontosaurus. In the town of Glover, you'll find the unattended Museum of Everyday Life, devoted to ordinary objects. Just turn the lights off when you leave. In a single afternoon, you can travel from Peru to Jamaica to Athens. But as every traveler knows, it's not always about the destination.
Driving around, talking, it's just been, it's definitely been really good, like father-daughter bonding time, especially during the pandemic.
Whenever you complete your quest, there's no grand prize. The club doesn't make you prove anything. But
what happens is your heart opens up when you finish, because you get to see how much commitment is in each of those tiny little towns that are out-of-the-way places, but people love them.
That's Vermont's Congressman Peter Welch, a proud 251er. That deep sense of pride and sense of place is perhaps best summed up in the Vermont State Song,
These green hills and
which
silver
Esther Farnsworth
mountains
insisted I could
are
not
my
leave the
home.
state
They
without hearing.
belong to me. They say home is where the heart is. These green mountains are my home.
I love that. That's a great set of it.
From tiny acorns, mighty oaks grow. But becorns are something else again. Faith Saley introduces us to a very different wonder of the forest.
In David Bird's line of work, things can get a little nutty.
You're like a squirrel getting ready for winter.
I know.
Bird's nest in Rhode Island is filled with thousands of sticks, acorns, ferns, and feathers.
At any given moment, are your pockets full of...
Oh yeah, I'm always collecting sticks because I like them when they're kind of knobby and have like just the right angle.
But he isn't stocking up for winter.
At this point, we're gonna just kind of choose something that fits.
Bird builds tiny creatures he affectionately calls becorns, a pun on the word acorn.
When you look at that,
You get a knee.
Yeah, you can kind of see it. I'm always looking like, oh, how angled is my arm right now? There are any number of things that could go wrong, and if any one of them goes wrong, they don't look alive.
A toy designer by trade, he spent almost 5 years at Lego in Denmark. Shortly after his return to the States, inspiration hit.
I was sweeping my mom's driveway at home. I looked down at the acorns and sticks, and I realized, like, oh my God, everything I learned at Lego I can apply to acorns and sticks.
So this is where you keep them?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Since 2008, Bird has built over 100 becorns, sometimes spending 10 hours handcrafting each one.
I thought if we set up Junie here, Junie could just be waiting for a chipmunk to come.
He then brings them into the great outdoors to be photographed. He's captured a becorn welcoming a wasp, feeding a chipmunk, even beckoning a bluebird.
I don't think people get how long it takes.
Well, I don't think people get how much fun it is. I mean, the fact that we're like riveted here,
We really
and
are.
like birds come and they're sort of around and we're like, oh, is this gonna be it? Like, that's how it is all the time.
But life for a becorn is surprisingly risky.
Are you okay to talk about the ones that have perished?
Yeah, I'll be okay, yeah.
Okay.
The most dramatic ways that they perish is when an animal eats them.
I mean, circle of life, man.
Right, yeah.
And when you witness an animal eating one of your
Yeah,
becorns,
yeah.
how does it feel?
I mean, honestly, it's fine. It's part of the process. I enjoy making them, so I'll just make another. If the camera's rolling and I get footage of it, then that's great.
Bird first branched out on social media a few years ago. Recently, he's been able to make selling becorn prints his full-time job. He's held becorn workshops and becorn gallery shows, too.
People love becorns because on one hand, it's all so familiar. Like, we all know acorns and sticks and chipmunks in our backyard, and we see it all the time. But then on the other hand, it's like, seems like this whole other world, you know?
So the next time you're sweeping away leaf litter, try to have a bird's eye view of those acorns. A David bird's eye, where inspiration can be found hidden in plain sight.
The reason I do it is to sort of capture a part of childhood, a certain like sense of wonder about the world that I'm like trying to hang on to. As an adult, we sort of forget about that feeling of wonder. And to know that other people are feeling that and appreciating that is just like amazing to me.
You say you're in the market for a town, a special place to call your own? Christina Ruffini has just what you're looking for.
If you're in the market for a white picket fence, several of them actually, Maine's Tuthill Village might be the perfect place to call home. Or rather, homes.
How many buildings are in this town?
I guess there's 25 buildings or something like that.
How do you not know how many buildings are in this town?
Well, because it's just home.
A lot of thought went into, it seems like, every inch of this place.
Everything.
For Nathan Tuttle, home is this 40-acre compound that he acquired from his father, Kenneth, an antiques dealer and the accidental founder of this federal-style foothold.
There was no plan. It was preservation, is what it was. He couldn't stand to see anything that was early, beautiful, be destroyed.
That included a ramshackle 1800s home that a neighbor was about to burn down.
$1 for the house, but you have to move it. And he said, sure, what the hell?
And once he'd moved one house onto his property, he was offered another, and another, and a village started to grow.
We get a lot of pictures taken here, and, you know, they just kind of wander around and look. We understand it.
After raising his own family, managing tenants, and massive amounts of maintenance for more than a decade.
Oh, wow.
Nathan is ready to retire.
You're the real estate agent for this place.
I am.
For all these places.
I am, yes.
Is he your most difficult client?
He is 100% my most difficult client.
Do my best.
Tuttle's real estate agent, Anna Boucher, who also happens to be his wife, is listing the property, which includes a church, a massive garage, and all the structures you see here, for $5.5 million.
Somebody can make this into whatever they need it to be.
Yeah. But the only thing more difficult than owning a town might be trying to sell one. A fictional but strikingly similar real estate predicament was even at the center of the sitcom Schitt's Creek.
You bought a small town in 1991, Johnny.
Yes, I bought that as a joke for my son.
Town-sized transactions can be serious business.
My name is Brent, and we are here at the abandoned mining town of Cerro Gordo.
Brent Underwood and his partners paid $1.4 million for a 380-acre ghost town about 4 hours north of Los Angeles. $4.3 million will get you this Rocky Mountain retreat 3 hours south of Denver. Or you can tip your toes into the market, or the lake, at this $1.4 million compound in upstate New York. But with great acreage comes great responsibility.
We paid about $3 million for about 88 acres of this wonderful landscape before us.
Take the tiny outpost of Nipton, California, which spent almost a decade being sold, resold, and foreclosed on. That is until last year, when the circus came to town. Literally.
Why does a circus company want to buy a town?
Well, we're an hour from Vegas, and it's such a beautiful place. I'm from Australia, and it's full of gum trees, and I just love the gum trees. This is a shopping cart.
Ross Mullison is the impresario extraordinaire, and yes, that's his actual job title, of the live entertainment company Spiegelworld. The vision is to use Nipton as a staff retreat and incubator to workshop new shows.
Most of the great creation happens out of the workshop. They're here 24/7 and creating the whole time and having a lot of fun doing it.
Eventually, Mullison wants to build a small, eco-friendly desert destination. That is, after they finish the less glamorous parts of ownership, like cleanup and infrastructure repair.
Anybody who buys a town will probably tell you that it's $20 million of investment that comes on top of the purchase price.
So it's not the sticker price?
The sticker price is just the start. You're putting petrol in that baby forever.
Until recently, Nipton's most frequent visitors were the clattering carriages of the Union Pacific Rail. Founded in 1905 as a mining camp, it grew to include a school and general store. And in the 1930s, golden era movie stars used to haunt its hotel. Rumor is Clara Bow still does.
Just like the song in Hotel California, I checked in and I can't leave.
Jim Esslinger is one of Nipton's 24 or so living residents.
About once a month, we go into Vegas for groceries.
That's the closest grocery store is Vegas?
Yeah.
That doesn't worry you at all living out here so far? Like, what if you have a heart attack?
Then I die. I believe that the Mojave Desert has a spirit of its own, and it decides who gets to stay and who goes down the road.
A town is not an easy acquisition, and certainly not for the faint of heart. But just as Jim and the Mojave seem to have embraced Nipton's new, unconventional owners. Back in Maine, Nathan Tuttle has faith that the perfect buyer will find their way home. Or in his case, homes.
We don't find the right person will find us.
You think so?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, it's just the way it works.
It's a dumpster diver's fantasy. Hundreds of artworks, possibly worth millions, discovered in the trash. They're now on display and on sale. With David Pogue, let's dive in.
Jared Whipple is a skateboarder and a mechanic in Connecticut.
In 2017, he got a call from a contractor buddy who'd been hired to clean out an old barn.
And he just said, Jared, nobody's been in there in like 40 years.
When Jared and his friend George Martin arrived at the barn, they found
a giant 40-yard dumpster full of art, jam-packed with art from front to back.
Every piece you see is individually thick plastic with dust and dirt.
But as they unwrapped the paintings, something clicked.
And I'm just like, man, this stuff, who is this guy?
Were there signatures on
There's
them?
signatures on every one. F. Hines. So we're Googling, and nothing's coming up. Nothing.
Finally, a lucky break.
It's a small painting from 1961, and it said Francis Matson Hines. So now we have a whole name.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Mr. Google. Mr. Google, where are we at?
Mr. Google revealed that in 1980, artist Francis Hines had wrapped New York's Washington Square Arch in fabric.
At that point, it's like, this guy's famous. Why is it in the dumpster? Can't figure it out.
Jared became consumed by the mystery of Francis Hines.
I was obsessed with the research every day, whether I'm at work, whether I'm home.
The first breakthrough was an old book he found on eBay.
And it was a treasure trove. It was a biography. It was his family. It was his friends.
It turned out that Hines was born in 1920, grew up in Cleveland, served in World War II, and became an illustrator for department store ads.
Francis Hines had his 15 minutes of fame in 1980 when he wrapped the Washington Square Arch.
Peter Hastings Falk is an art historian and publisher.
He did JFK Terminal. He was in the Port Authority bus station. He stands distinctly as the only artist to ever wrap a building in New York.
Almost every piece of Hines' artwork involves
tension. And all of the energy occurs within that tension.
But then Francis Hines disappeared.
Francis really retired to his studio, essentially. He cared about one thing, creating every day.
I just love the process of making art.
So he would create all this art in New York and then truck it to the barn, because that was his storage facility, and just keep filling it and filling it and filling it and just forgetting about it.
Hines died in 2016 at age 96. But Jared was determined to resurrect his reputation. He began calling New York art galleries.
I got so many doors shut in my face.
Is this a snob thing?
I don't know. Maybe I got a wrong etiquette. I'm a little old school, and I'm blue collar.
Finally, he met Peter Hastings Falk, who agreed to help.
I was really impressed. I mean, I was blown away by the originality that I saw.
Is there value to these paintings?
Yes, it's well into the millions of dollars once all is said and done.
In May, the Hollis Taggart Gallery will exhibit the dumpster treasures in Southport, Connecticut. They're likely to sell for over $20,000 a piece. And by agreement with the Hines family, most of the art belongs to Jared Whipple. Do you feel like the art world is finally taking you seriously?
The art world right now is taking me more seriously than I ever imagined in my life. I'm a undereducated skateboarding mechanic, you know? I can't even wrap my head around it.
It's happening fast now.
Maybe Francis could wrap my head around it. But I can't wrap my head around it.
They're among our most endangered creatures, fighting to find their way back. Lee Cowan shares an inspiring tale of survival.
At first glance, this can look like a morgue. Poor guy. Sea turtles, limp and motionless. But if you look close enough, what might look like a corpse offers a slow glimpse of life. Those turtles all washed up in Massachusetts this past December on the windy beaches of Cape Cod Bay. They were nearly frozen to death.
The turtles, especially today, 38 degrees, if that turtle sits out for 2 or 3 hours, I mean, it's going to die. It's just not going to recover from that kind of shock from the cold.
The problem, though, isn't so much the cold as it is our ever-warming oceans.
This has been the hottest spot for turtles, too, and yeah.
Biologist Bob Prescott,
So we'll close it up.
Director Emeritus of the Massachusetts Audubon Wildlife Sanctuary in Wellfleet, says the Gulf of Maine, which includes Cape Cod Bay, is now one of the fastest warming bodies of ocean water in the world. Now, turtles like warm water, but they're staying up here too long. By mid-November, the temperatures start to drop too fast for these cold-blooded reptiles to handle, and volunteers are finding more and more of them washed ashore.
You see the movement in the flipper?
In a hypothermic state like this.
How's he doing? Can you tell?
This time of year, you can't tell.
It's called cold stunning.
They may come in looking dead, they revive, they go up to the aquarium, and a couple of days later they crash. We'll put them in the box, and that'll start to get them stabilized.
All sea turtles are in real trouble, but by far the worst off are these, Kemp's Ridley turtles, the most critically endangered sea turtle in the world. Since the 70s, they've been washing ashore, about a few dozen per year.
The first turtle I found was 1974.
But these days, Prescott says,
now, we're up over 750, 760 turtles, and started a month ago.
They've traveled a long way, unwittingly into danger. Their nesting grounds are thousands of miles to the south, along the warm beaches of the Gulf of Mexico.
What we're looking for is the tracks left in the sand.
Where Donna Shaver has spent her life trying to help the species rebound.
If we don't help save this species, we lose a piece that enriches us.
How big are the eggs themselves?
The eggs are about the size of ping pong.
She's the head of the Turtle Rescue Group at Padre Island National Seashore in Texas.
There's a whole variety of things that can harm them, from oil spills to boat strikes to red tide, entanglement and debris, ingestion debris, all of those.
Which is why all that urgent care they're getting back up north
All right, little buddy.
is more important than ever.
Let's get your picture taken.
Most have at least some degree of pneumonia.
There's definitely a little bit of fluid in the lungs here.
Some are so bad they have to be put on ventilators just to breathe. But they're also suffering from a lot of other things, fractured bones and dehydration, for example.
He's okay. He came in yesterday, so he's still pretty early in the treatment process.
This is the Animal Care Center for the New England Aquarium, a state-of-the-art facility just outside Boston that specializes in treating cold-stunned sea turtles from Massachusetts to Maine. They have an 80% success rate at bringing these turtles back from the brink.
It's moving a little, huh?
This Kemp's Ridley came in with barely one heartbeat a minute.
Anything? No.
But biologist Adam Kennedy says for such a small marine turtle, they are remarkably resilient.
Because of this, they will likely give another round of epinephrine, probably atropine as well.
Treatment can last up to 2 years, but Kennedy can really only manage between 40 and 80 turtles long term. And with the warming waters, hundreds are now getting trapped every year, and that's just too many four-flippered patients for any one rehab to oversee. It's basically a mass casualty event. They need other hospitals to help. But that left Bob Prescott with a question.
How do you get a turtle from here to there?
The answer? Give turtles a ticket to fly.
A happy reptile makes for a good passenger.
Ken Andrews is vice president of a unique nonprofit called Turtles Fly Too.
This is in a lot of ways like a life flight.
It is a life flight. It's a medevac flight, absolutely.
Turtles may not be meant to have their heads in the clouds, but there really is no other option.
There's no agency, there's no staffing, there's no funding. There's nothing there to make this mission happen, and these turtles will die if somebody like Turtles Fly 2 doesn't jump in to help.
It could never happen unless hundreds of pilots were willing to volunteer their time, their planes, and their fuel to rush the rescued turtles to willing rehab facilities all around the country.
Where do you guys get your funding?
Yeah, what funding? I wish. We desperately need it. Our pilots that are flying these missions are pulling $1 million out of their pocket to fly these missions every year for us.
On this particular mission, Ken, with his dad as co-pilot, will fly more than 2,000 miles from Boston to Atlanta, then on to Gulfport, and finally Dallas, dropping off 44 sick sea turtles along the way in hopes that one day they'll be well enough to be released.
All right, I've got some temps for you guys.
90% of the turtles that we've moved to rehab have ended up back in the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, overall, everything was good. All right, good, buddy, get out of here.
These lucky passengers landed at the Texas Sea Life Center in Corpus Christi, Texas back in 2021, courtesy of Turtles Fly 2.
Could you do this without them?
We could not do this without their help, no question. You ready to go, huh? I think so, yeah.
Veterinarian Tim Tristan, the director here, says it took a while, but with good care and the help of volunteers, these turtles are now finally ready to go home again.
If they can make it through our front door, we have a pretty good success rate with getting them turned around and getting them back out to the wild where they belong. You seen a sea turtle before?
A crowd gathered at the beach of Padre Island.
Oh my gosh, they're so handsome.
Most never get to see a Kemp's Ridley turtle. There are far too few.
Everybody wants to see some turtles released, right? All right.
But on this day, there were a few more. Biologist Donna Shaver says this release is modern conservation in action.
They take with me their hopes for the next generation.
There are few privileges that I have ever been offered.
Look at this.
Quite like this one.
How cool. Look, buddy, you're going home.
We humans have not always been kind to the sea and those who dwell in it.
All right, buddy, go home, bud.
But on this day, it was humans. Certainly not me, but the hundreds of veterinarians, biologists, volunteers, and yes, pilots, who all came together to give these critically endangered sea turtles what they rarely get: a second chance. Who says you can't go home again?
Once again, we head to the beach. But for the family our Steve Hartman caught up with, being near the water is a different kind of escape.
If you take a ferry to Isle of Hope, an island community way off the coast of Maine, you can visit the gift shop, the general store, and, well, that's it. Just the general store and the gift shop. There are literally no other businesses on the island.
So people who live out here are resilient, they're creative.
And they're few. Too few, according to Bob Olney, president of the Isle of Hope Community Development Corporation.
And it's essential that we continue to attract families.
So, last year, this community of about 50 year-round residents made a post, hoping to woo a new family. They were careful not to oversell the place. Though it's not everyone's cup of tea, who knows? It may very well be yours. And they got a taker. A young family from central Massachusetts.
Ready?
Dakota Waters, his son Flynn, wife Hannah, and their baby Amelia moved here a few months ago.
Oh, our whole family thought we were psychotic. They're like a remote island in the middle of the ocean.
Had you been on an island before?
Nope, never even been in the ocean.
And yet, here they live, the newest members of a dying breed.
Uh-oh.
At one point, there were about 300 communities out here on Maine's most isolated islands. Now, just over a dozen remain. And keeping those alive will require a new breed of frontiersmen, folks who value solitude over Starbucks and really don't mind a little adversity.
People have traded the good life for a convenient one, and convenience isn't always the best.
To that point, the Waters raise some of their own food and work multiple jobs.
You want to pet your chickens?
Dakota does plumbing, lawn maintenance. The old landlubber even works on a lobster boat. And as for the children, this year his son Flynn was one of just 2 kids in the K-8 schoolhouse. And that was the other.
It's no one.
The place is just that small. But Dakota says the tininess is more blessing than curse.
There we go! We have so much more bonding time with the kids. It's undescribably wholesome.
You think you're here for good?
Yeah.
I'm not moving my stuff off this rock again. It was too hard to get it here.
Come for the beauty, stay because it's too hard to leave. Could be another soft sell ad.
In many ways, the town of Exeter, New Hampshire is like a lot of other small New England towns, with neat white clapboard buildings and trees that burn orange and gold in the fall. But Exeter, New Hampshire is different from other towns in this one respect. The town of Exeter has opened its arms to 10 Bosnian students who have been forced to leave their own country because of war.
What's funny? I wouldn't recognize you. You got your hair cut.
Vedrina Ponjevic is from Tuzla.
Funny? No, it's lovely. This is Alan, who's going to be living with you. This is Alan.
Alan Chaucevic has lived in Sarajevo all his life.
And this is Irma.
Vedrina and Alan and the others are here because of Robert Ozzie. Robert Ozzie is a professional photojournalist and a freelance Good Samaritan.
At the dedication of the Holocaust Museum, Elie Wiesel chastised the president for not doing more about the ethnic cleansing that was going on in Bosnia. And my daughter Iman was watching with me at the time and asked, as a Muslim, which she is, as I am, if someday there was going to be a Holocaust museum for the Muslims of Bosnia, which provoked me into feeling that really something needed to be done.
That's in front of the mosque.
Robert Ozzie asked a Bosnian friend to find him children who could speak English. He would find them families and visas and get them to Exeter so they could go to school.
I had no idea that over a year later I would consider myself a guidance counselor, an advisor, and social worker, and politician. I've begged and borrowed and pleaded with people for support for these kids.
And what we want to do is make sure that you each have footwear, boots, and shirt and outerwear jacket, okay? And so
He has found people to give his kids scholarships and Timberland boots.
Nice.
And in 1,000 other ways, he has taken on the life problems of a daunting number of teenagers far away from home.
But what are you going to wear when it's raining and snow?
Is he tired of it? No. He wants to do more.
If I can get 20 airline tickets tomorrow, I could bring 20 more kids over here. I could find 20 more families in 20 more towns.
Oh, come on. Somebody's got to help me here. Let's go.
I think in Robert's mind, it's not difficult. It's just something that you have to do. He just said, you have to do this.
But Vedrina got...
Robert Ozzie convinced Lori and Wayne Lucidian to take Vedrina Pomjevic into their home.
This was not a happy foreign student. This was someone who was depressed and unhappy and homesick, and it was not easy bringing her into our family because she was sad a lot of the time. I mean, we crawled in bed with her at night and talked to her, and she had nightmares and a lot of sadness.
A year of peace has changed Vedrina.
She's so different. Last year, she felt incredibly guilty about being here, about having the opportunity to be away from her country and away from her family. And she doesn't feel that way anymore.
The children miss their families and their friends, but they know why they are here. They are here to learn.
Watching the Bosnian kids take it as seriously, almost desperately sometimes, as they do, gives the American kids a whole new angle on why anybody is in school.
And I want you to write 5 totally different beginnings for that.
Joyce Morgan teaches English and Russian at Exeter High School.
They're here because in them something is happening for the future, for their family, for their friends, for their people in Bosnia. And that's a great responsibility. It's a big job.
We have war in our country. It's really hard. We can't really live normally there. But we still hope to go home as soon as possible and live there and build up again everything what's burned and destroyed. That's actually our biggest hope.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Yasmika.
Yasmika Hachi is 19 years old
I feel like a two persons in one, really, because when I think about my hometown and all the people I left and friends, I feel, I don't know, I feel that it's real me.
Yasmika is a freshman at the University of New Hampshire. This summer, she went home to see her parents for the first time in 2 years.
The last winter was so rough over there. The people were on the edge of starvation. The whole feeling was just depression, and knowing that you're under the siege and you can't get out, and any minute you can get killed, and not just you, but someone who is close to you.
Alisa Mujagic watched as the Serbian army burned her family's home to the ground.
That was my first tears that in the war, when I saw my house that is completely destroyed.
Alisa and her family were put in a concentration camp.
I saw raping, and one night they came and they took 13 of girls. In the morning they brought back only 5 of them, and many of the girls were 13 years old, and they will never be able to go back. The Serbs took what they wanted.
And so the town of Exeter has come to know about Bosnia, not from television or newspapers, but from children who have become classmates and family and friends.
This ethnic cleansing isn't just about killing people who are different. It's about blowing up mosques and burning libraries, destroying school documents and birth records and birth certificates. It's about forcibly expelling thousands of people from their villages and razing any symbols of the culture that they left behind.
Many of you have heard about the Bosnians. Well, they're here today visiting us in our church. And
One Sunday this fall at the Unitarian Church, the Bosnian students read letters from children in Sarajevo.
My soul is full of pain, and I must open it. My father and brother are in the army now. My mother works every day, and now I just have this paper and you.
Sarajevo was the place of my dreams, but it's war Sarajevo now. Life is very dangerous and difficult.
We are unhappy children. We can't go out.
Svo vrijeme mi se bojimo pucnjave.
All the time we feel afraid of the shooting.
We are expecting the coming winter with a great fear deep in our hearts.
Sanyan Payo is from Mostar. He's in the 10th grade.
What will happen with us? I was remembering myself and my friends in my town while during the war, and what we felt was almost the same what they are feeling.
I was thinking about changed lives of all of us. It's really tough, and all emotions just come up, and you just could cry.
At first, Lori Lucijan wondered why they had taken in an extra child. Now she knows.
We received a letter from her parents soon after she arrived here, and her mother said, "Please love my child. I can't do that for her. I can't give her back her childhood. I can't give her back her innocence. She's lost her innocence, and all she knows is people who are hateful and warlike, and I wish for her that she can learn that people can be peaceful and happy."
There are many kinds of heroes. Some drive ambulances and food convoys. Some bandage wounds. And some, in one small town, have taken in the children of strangers in a faraway land and have given them a green field to play on without fear of bombs. Children who know much about evil and hate, and who now know something of peace.
Martha Teichner this morning finds herself at the Lost Kitchen.
I just wanted to pause for a moment and welcome you all and thank
By the time Erin French welcomes guests, 50 of them,
Hello.
twice a week, to her Lost Kitchen restaurant.
I have a raspberry shrub here for you to enjoy.
They've been sipping
Tuck one in here.
and sampling for 2 hours already.
A platter of oysters.
And they haven't even gotten to what's on the menu yet.
I hope you taste our joy tonight, because that is what we are running on. Some good ingredients too, and a lot of love.
And something else. Baked into every meal she serves is the story of how, at the Lost Kitchen, she found freedom and now fame. In Freedom, Maine. Population about 700.
You make me feel like this is the center of the universe.
So it seems it is. The Lost Kitchen is one of the hardest to get reservations in the world.
Enjoy.
Erin French has a cookbook out with another one in the works. And movie rights to her best-selling memoir were sold in a major bidding war.
A lot of people. They're all outside. Are we ready?
Season 3 of her TV series begins this month. Her success is all the more stunning because of how hard it was to come by. Here's what she says.
My dad was a pretty hard guy to be around.
Her father, Jeff Richardson, owned a diner. This one, just outside Freedom. Erin started working there at 12.
To have moments when I would make something on the line and he'd give me that quiet look of, you did it right. That's where I learned to figure out this challenging relationship with my dad, was to cook together.
Her mother, Deanna, was a school teacher.
She would never speak out. She wasn't allowed to.
All Erin wanted to do was get away from the diner, out of Freedom. And she did. But after 2.5 years of college in Boston, at 21, she discovered she was pregnant, dropped out, and went back to Freedom to have her baby, a boy she named James, and to work at the diner.
Even coming back home and diving back into food, I still wasn't picking up on the cues that maybe I loved this.
Finally, it sunk in. At the age of 30, Erin opened a restaurant, the first Lost Kitchen. It was a hit, but her life was a wreck, especially her marriage.
My anxiety was growing. I was working these crazy hours, and I was in this miserable marriage. I started taking prescription medication, and that's when the spiral started to happen.
What came next? Addiction. A drawn-out, nasty divorce. Erin lost her restaurant. For a time, she even lost custody of her son. So she had to drag herself out of the depths.
I spent a lot of just recovery time, just bringing myself back to life and living here.
Her lifeboat was a land yacht.
It was an absolute mess.
She took a sledgehammer to the interior.
I just had this one moment of just let it all go and just needed a good scream and a good cry and a fresh beginning.
Zhuzhed up, as Erin likes to say, it became the Lost Kitchen on wheels.
I had to come see your Airstream.
Now it's parked, a few yards from the 19th century mill, where the restaurant has been for the last 8 years.
Okay, guys.
A tourist attraction, even for people who can't get reservations. And that's practically everybody.
To get a reservation here, you have to send in a postcard.
This year, the restaurant received over 50,000.
A lot of love here.
Postcards are drawn at random to determine who gets in. The restaurant is open from the end of May to October. Dinner costs $195. Sounds like a lot, but it's for a good 12 courses. Erin cooks local.
Okay.
Her secret ingredient?
Beautiful. Lots of butter. Saltine. Delicious.
The Lost Kitchen is staffed mainly by women, all Erin's friends, who don't need to talk as they work, to music, a soundtrack for the happy ending to this story about second chances.
There was a moment that I realized that I had to go through all of that to get exactly right here, and that is that beautiful and terrifying thing about life.
9 years ago, Erin met media executive Michael Dutton. They got married in 2018.
Yes. Perfect.
Erin's mother, now divorced from her dad, does whatever needs doing.
I have a title now. It's Executive Zhuzher.
And when dinner begins, Erin French presides over the Lost Kitchen. like a woman who has finally found herself.
Here's to the memories we make in this room, and I hope they last a good long time. Here's to 3 more hours of eating, okay? Cheers, guys. Cheers. Cheers, guys. Cheers, guys. Cheers. Cheers.
We all know you can find almost anything at one of America's big box stores. But for many of us, those stores offer convenience at the expense of community, something our Connor Knighton finds in no short supply at the general store.
This is the big moment.
Opening day at the Way store in Saco, Maine.
There we go.
Is always cause for celebration.
We're open!
After a long winter, customers pour in
It's going to be Sugar Daddies
to get their first taste of spring.
I wanted to be the first customer of the year for good luck.
Yeah, it's a special day. Go ahead, do some more.
Today, these visits feel especially sweet.
Keep going.
For a while, everyone thought that this store had closed for good.
It was gone. It was sad. It was like an old friend had died. Some of this candy here was 2 for a penny when I was a kid.
Peter Scontris grew up in Saco. The Way store originally operated as a country general store. Back then, it was considered way out of town and was run by the same family for nearly a century. When it closed down in 2003, it sat empty for 8 years.
I'm thinking $8.95.
Until Scontris and his wife Bridget,
Okay,
both retired teachers, reopened the store as a labor of love.
Thank you very much.
It was a treasure, and it had to be taken away from them to really understand it and appreciate it, to get to the point of a greater appreciation of what this was.
It was a real loss for our community. It was a hole.
In the community of Albany, Vermont, a 2013 fire forced their general store to close.
Sounds great.
Resident Kristen Ury and her neighbors felt the absence immediately, but any new owner hoping to make a profit was scared off by the high renovation costs.
Could you have afforded to buy this on your own?
No. So we could have bought the property, and we would not be in the store anymore.
Today, Albany's store at the Jenny is thriving again.
Right, we need to add the red stripe. Okay.
Run by partners Emily McClure, Kit Basom, and Jana Smart. The women already owned a successful store in the nearby town of Craftsbury, but in the case of Albany, the community now owns the building.
So this is Albany's store, and we're operating it, and I think that's the key to success in this kind of business.
The Albany Community Trust raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to purchase and renovate the store, utilizing everything from grant applications to pie auctions.
This is a place that says that this is a town, right? That like there's a there.
Ben Doyle is the president of the Preservation Trust of Vermont. The group has been helping towns take charge of their local stores to ensure they survive.
We want to be able to go to a store where the people running it know who we are, they know what we like, and they offer something that we can buy. And that sense of community that you can't buy.
What's going on? Oh, not too much.
That sense of community is alive and well at the Jenny.
Thank you. Have a good day.
They sell staples and sandwiches, but people are coming for more than just convenience.
Thank you very much. Like maybe somebody doesn't really need something from the store, but they're like, I'm just gonna pop in and like get a thing. But it's not about the thing, it's about the people and the connection and sense of place and community.
The general story of rural general stores is not necessarily a happy one.
In this area, saltwater taffy is big.
Unless you've got someone doing it purely for the love of it, it's a hard road for young entrepreneurs.
You get a barbecue too, please?
Which is why the locally supported model may offer a path forward. A community deciding there's a value to having a store that goes beyond the bottom line.
That's what we're trying to keep, right? Is hold on to these main streets, hold on to these places that actually do bring people together. That it's not another Dollar General, that it's not a big box store, that it's actually, there's a heart.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's the first tip of the year. All right. Yeah.
Steve Hartman now with a lobster tale.
At 78, Max Oliver is an old salt. But to his crewmate on this lobster boat, Max is but a child. Her child. Virginia Oliver is 101, Maine's oldest lobster fisherman. 3 days a week, May through November, you can find Virginia out here on Penobscot Bay, balancing on her sea legs, tackling one of the most hazardous jobs in the country.
Have they ever gotten you?
Of course.
Not long ago, she got cut so badly, she needed 7 stitches.
And the doctor said to me, "What are you out there lobstering for?"
Good question.
And I said, "Because I want to."
I think he might have thought that was a little too dangerous for somebody of your age.
I don't care what he thought.
Well, clearly.
Yeah.
Virginia has been lobstering on and off since the age of 7. She used to go out with her father. It was man's work then, not another girl in sight. But 94 years later, she is the master of the sea. After Max hauls in the traps, Virginia measures the lobsters,
Don't go on.
tosses out the small ones,
Gonna throw it away.
and then tames the claws of the keepers.
Who's the boss out there?
I am.
Okay. So let's say he didn't want to go out one day. He's too tired. No?
No, I won't put up that stuff.
Virginia says she expects nothing of her son that she wouldn't do herself. Unfortunately for her son.
How many days have you called in sick in the last year?
No.
She don't give up. What would she say if you said, I'm ready to retire?
You better have something wrong with you.
You better have something wrong with you.
As for Virginia's retirement date, she says you'll find that one place and one place only, etched on her tombstone.
When I die.
When you die?
Yeah.
In other words, no time soon.
Our Seth Doan went home for the holidays, but he sent us a souvenir with some help from his dad.
Winter brings a raw beauty to Cape Cod, showcasing its natural rhythm, set by the ocean, winds, and ever-shifting tides, which expose yet another pearl of the Cape, oysters.
These guys are scattered all around here, but the trick is to know what one's a live one and what one's just dead shell.
It's a centuries-old search on this peninsula which still captivates and challenges many, including my dad, Paul Doan.
It's kind of like a treasure hunt. It is like a treasure hunt.
And while it might not appear so appetizing, he's harvesting a delicacy.
This one isn't big enough, but this one is.
Today, oysters are devoured by the dozen at raw bars, and here in the Massachusetts town of Wellfleet, locals insist theirs are the very best.
You can tell a Wellfleet oyster when, or I can anyway.
What's the signature?
Everything seems to blend well. The salinity, the temperature, the tides that come in, the long flats.
There's a massive 12-foot tidal exchange which floods Wellfleet Harbor, feeding these mollusks, which can filter up to 50 gallons of water daily. Oysters often grow in stubborn clusters, quite firmly attached to rocks and shells.
Now you've got 3 good-sized oysters there.
My dad, an 11th generation Cape Codder and former state senator, appreciates the history of oystering and the lack of politics and, well, people out here.
It is a tranquil place, and I find it very therapeutic. And I find that the worse the conditions, the more I enjoy it. Why? I don't know, it's just kind of like being out there alone, as opposed to a gorgeous day when people come out in droves.
He holds one of about 900 recreational shellfishing licenses here, allowing him each week a bucket of oysters of a certain size.
You can just tell immediately.
Just off the flats, a warden makes sure folks are following the rules. Her workday runs by the tides.
You have the tides in your calendar?
I do.
Like next to going to the dentist or
Yes.
going grocery shopping, it's like low tide?
I really do.
Nancy Chivetta is Wellfleet's shellfish constable. There's no uniform, but her accessories are on point, an oyster and a clam.
I do that to honor the 2 products that make this town tick.
She's charged with keeping Wellfleet's $8 million shellfish industry healthy and productive.
Of course, we're a tourism town in the summer, but this industry is what makes us survive.
We watched her colleagues, including a man nicknamed Johnny Clam, dump live oysters offshore where they'll spawn in the wild.
They're still the same oysters.
But a majority of oysters harvested from these waters are raised by 135 farmers.
How many oysters are you growing at any time?
Millions.
Millions?
Yeah.
Jake Puffer learned the business from his dad, Irving.
Pass the torch, or the clam rake.
In this case, that's more appropriate.
Their family has roots back to the Nauset tribe, whose ancestors fished in these waters thousands of years ago. The Puffers' underwater farm spans 16 acres, and they work in just about any weather, not deterred by rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night.
We come out in just about anything, but as the mail goes through, so do the oysters.
My dad has his own sort of oyster delivery, too. He can squeeze nearly 12 dozen into that bucket.
But you can't eat 12 dozen oysters.
But I know people that will eat 12 dozen.
So part of his 20-plus year tradition, only heightened during the holidays, is sharing these Wellfleet oysters with friends. On his drive back home, he stops along the way. First to see Dale and Pete Wade.
These are great. Perfect size.
Oh,
They're so skinny.
As always.
Too.
And then, after dark, pack some for Patty Smith.
When you called and said, "Do you want some oysters?" I don't think I've ever said no.
No, you haven't.
Pop that hinge.
At home, the holiday tradition continues.
I like the gathering of them better than the opening of them.
It's a lot of work, at least for him. My mom, Helen, and I generally come in for the easy part.
Good, Deb.
Salty and cold. Good. With Lee Cowan, we head north to a most unusual landmark that for more than a century has served as a cultural welcome mat between the United States and Canada.
There's still a place where you can walk freely across an international border. No questions asked. The only protest is the squeaking floorboards near the well-worn boundary line, painted on the floor. This is the Haskell Free Library and Opera House, a Victorian palace to art, culture, and education that actually has dual citizenship. Because part of it sits in Stansted, Quebec.
Des États-Unis ou du Canada, toi?
The other half stretches into Derby Line, Vermont.
So this is the actual border. So you're standing in Canada and you're in the United States. This is the border.
It was the vision of Martha Stewart Haskell, a wealthy Canadian who married a wealthy American. She had it built in 1901 as a gift.
What was the point of having it specifically sit across the border?
She wanted it to be welcoming to both communities, and at that time, this was family, both sides.
American Kathy Converse has been volunteering here for 20 years. She's seen kids and parents,
This is the ticket office.
tourists and residents, French speakers and English speakers,
I was looking at that.
all coming and going freely. But this month, it changed.
And it's just sort of, I'm going to stick with my one word that I use for the situation, sad.
In January, the same day President Donald Trump was sworn into office, U.S. Border Patrol agent David Mayland was shot and killed during a traffic stop. It was about 15 miles from the library. A Seattle woman has been indicted for his murder. Hundreds turned out on the streets of Burlington in January to say goodbye. A week later, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem flew to Vermont to pay her respects. She also made a surprise visit to the library.
How'd that go?
I have to say she was very polite with me.
But a few weeks after Noem's visit, Sylvie Boudreau, president of the library's Board of Trustees, was notified the building's literary loophole was closing. ending Martha Stewart Haskell's century-old vision of cooperation.
Getting emotional, but I don't think she would have thought, because her first mission was really to reunite people, not to divide.
Starting this month, Canadians are no longer allowed to use the U.S. sidewalk that leads to the library's grand front entrance. Instead, they have to report to a legal U.S. port of entry first.
Welcome to Canada.
Welcome to Canada. Yep.
But in the back of the library, on the Canadian side, was a rarely used emergency exit. They turned that exit into an entrance. Not as welcoming to Canadians as the front, perhaps, but for now, it'll have to do.
It's like when you're losing a friend, a dear friend.
That's what it feels like.
Like you backstab me, and it's going to take a while before I forgive you.
Canadian Susan Rothwell wasn't about to take a chance.
We didn't dare cross that border.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection said the changes were necessary because of incidents of smuggling and illicit cross-border activity around the library.
Around the library? Outside? Yes. We have people crossing often, but it's not because of the library,
She should know Boudreau worked for the Canadian Border Services Agency for 20 years.
And to think that the library, because of one little sidewalk, would have that big of an impact on border security, for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's Jody Stone. He's the mayor of Stansted, Quebec. But he's just as well known in Derby Line, Vermont.
If you look at the community, if it wasn't for the borders, you wouldn't know that it was two separate countries. We share water and sewer. Our fire departments come to each other's aid when needed, but we've tried to keep it as open as possible.
Take a drive down Canusa Street, as in Canada, USA Street. So named because the border is essentially that yellow line down the middle of the road. On the American side, signs of support and solidarity. On the Canadian side, a morphing of our two flags into one.
I'm proud to be in a community where our neighbors appreciate us as much as we appreciate them.
That back entrance will eventually be getting a makeover. A donation box shows that the dollars don't discriminate. Both sides want to make it right. Despite all the noise outside, in here, under the mournful eyes of a massive moose, the Haskell Free Library and Opera House remains a place where no sides are taken, where differences are celebrated, and where the promises of the past are kept.
It's like all that politics and all these rulings don't exist. We are here for all the same thing, is literacy, culture, and friendship.
From Martha Teichner, a look at a remarkable child with a very unlikely calling.
In Maine, where Elizabeth Downs lives, she became something of a sensation when she took up beekeeping at the age of 6. There was the novelty of it, and the sight of a very small girl in a bee suit, surrounded by all those bees. But once you get past the how cute is that factor, you realize the story here is about someone who is precocious in her passion, and about how it takes a village to nurture her interest.
You can't be interested in gardening and not be interested in pollinators. So the transition was a natural progression for her.
It all started here, in the garden that covers practically every square inch of family friend Dave Oliver's yard in Old Town, Maine. Elizabeth had been his eager helper since she was 3. Oliver's next-door neighbor, Dave Fiacco, had beehives.
So she came down to my house and we put her in a horribly oversized bee suit.
Here's a picture of her in it.
We took her out, pulled the top off a hive, and from then forward, she was just hooked.
So we got a swarm for her and we gifted it to her, and Elizabeth, these are your bees now. So she took to taking care of her bees.
And you taught her how to do it?
Well, to the degree that I could. She enrolled herself in a course at Penn State, a beekeeper's course. It was online.
A college-level course?
Essentially a college-level course.
At age 8.
Is it fun?
Yeah, it can be fun. The stinging part's not very fun.
No, I wouldn't imagine.
No, but I like to do the honey extracting, and I like making the decisions.
Now, finally, she's allowed to fire up the smoker herself. Until she was 8, her mom said she was too young and did it for her. Smoke calms the bees down.
Well, I was pretty much like, well, I don't know anything about bees, but if you want to learn, we'll do it.
Rachel Downs is her daughter's assistant.
I've learned, probably not as much, but I've learned a lot doing it alongside of her.
What's your job in this bee enterprise?
Do what I'm told. I mean, it's literally the heavy lifting.
Michael Downs, Elizabeth's dad, doesn't mind.
When you see your kid light up about something, that's the big rewarding thing as a parent. And Elizabeth lights up in the bee yard.
Oh, I see small eggs.
Elizabeth can hold her own with the nerdiest of bee nerds, who are mostly old enough to be her grandparents. Which is why the Penobscot County Beekeepers Association, Dave Fiacco, president,
Just look for your color-coded map.
Made her their youth outreach coordinator.
So I did a presentation at my school and Old Town Elementary School.
She was too young to be a member of the board. Something just to indulge a kid?
So would you want to build these bigger so you could put a third one in between, or do you want to?
No.
If nobody's going to show Elizabeth and the younger generation how to do beekeeping, then in 15 years, there's not going to be anybody to do beekeeping.
And then what?
There's no food. Like, the food chain depends on bees.
And then there's the honey. Elizabeth extracts it from the frames she's pulled from her hives. Eventually, a thick river of it flows lazily into a bucket.
What's it like when you see it coming out?
To me, it looks like liquid gold. It looks a lot like gold. It's so beautiful, and it tastes really good, and it smells amazing. I think you need a little more.
Elizabeth named her operation Ease Bees and solicits donations for her honey. She gives most of the money away to charity and her church. Now 11, she says when she grows up, she wants to be the state apiarist, Maine's official beekeeper. She's convinced she's already heard her calling in the bee yard.
I really like bees, and I think this is what I want to do.
For your whole life? This is your life's work?
Yeah.
Being with the bees, how do you feel?
I feel calm, and I love the sound of their buzz.
These cows might not seem particularly unique.
This is Laura.
Hi, Laura.
And that's Lily. They're looking at the camera.
Until you learn what they're churning out.
Do you have any idea what amazing butter you make?
The butter made here at Animal Farm Creamery in Shoreham, Vermont, can't be found in a grocery store. It's sold almost exclusively to fine dining restaurants around the country, from Per Se in New York to the Inn at Little Washington in Virginia. It's widely considered the cream of the crop.
I actually have heard from people who have eaten it, and they say it's changed them. And it's great to hear that. I'm not quite sure how,
Don't give away our secret.
For Hillary Haig and her husband Ben, making butter is a family affair. They're the second owners of the business, founded in Orwell, Vermont. The creamery's name, Animal Farm, winks at the 1945 George Orwell fable.
How would you describe this butter to someone who's never tasted it before?
Well, it has this very light mouthfeel, and then it has a very sweet taste to it too. So it's an experience that involves aroma and texture and flavor.
So this is where it all happens, in this little room?
Yeah, well, this is where all the butter is made, but of course it starts
with
the cows.
Here, the cultured cream from the cow milk is churned into golden paste.
Oh, that's a pretty one.
Once those spheres roll into restaurants, they're reshaped, salted, and served.
With the winter firmness comes a higher butter fat, reaching into the high 80s.
Here at San Francisco's Aquarello, the staff loves the butter so much they even gobble up emailed updates from the farm and know the cows by name.
Rutabaga, she's my favorite.
It's an enthusiasm not often associated with butter, so it should come as no surprise that chefs pay a pretty penny, at more than $20 per pound. One store even resells it for $60 a pound.
It's costing me like $17 a pound to make the butter, and at the end of the day, I'm making on a good year like $7 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
You know, so it's like every piece of the farm that goes into this, it costs a lot to make the butter this way.
But Hillary Haig says she's happy with the final product any way you slice it.
We love this lifestyle, and it works for us to spend all of our time working to make this butter.
Do you think people taste the love?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I hope so.
With Martha Teichner this morning, we're heading to Vermont to visit a landmark that's sacred ground for dog lovers everywhere.
Look, it's me.
Girlie, come on. If you want the treat, you have to sit. Sit.
Good girlie. And my dog, Girlie,
Hey, Girlie. That's a perfect name. That's what I call
at Dog Mountain, having a good time on a beautiful fall day.
Look at his tail, Girlie.
If Dog Mountain were just a joyful place where dogs can run around or plop into a nice pond, it would still be pretty special. 150 dog-friendly acres in the scenic hills of northern Vermont.
Yeah.
But there is much, much more to this story. It's actually a real tearjerker, sweet but sad. It began in 1994 when artist Stephen Huneck was injured falling down a flight of stairs, his injury causing him to develop a rare, often fatal lung condition.
I was dead for like 5 minutes, not breathing. And I was in a coma for over 2 months, and they really pretty much wrote me off.
Huneck and his wife Gwen, more than a decade ago, reliving the nightmare.
I said to myself, well, I'm going to be positive. I'm going to believe he's going to get better.
And he did.
I had to learn to walk again, and my dogs really took care of me. We would go for short walks in the woods, and they really stayed right with me.
His dogs became the subjects of the now famous woodcuts he was finally strong enough to make. His black lab, Sally, featuring in a series of best-selling children's books he wrote and illustrated. And then came his vision.
I remember the moment perfectly, where I had this idea popped into my mind, was build a chapel for dogs and for people.
He built it himself, with this sign out front. There are carved dogs everywhere, even a dog angel on top of the steeple. There are dogs inside, some real, some not. The chapel opened in 2000 and is, more than anything, a room full of love. It's overwhelming.
It makes me happy, despite crying, to come back and see, and I feel like this is the place that they're buried, and that we come back and visit every year.
Every inch of every wall, floor to ceiling, has been covered with layers and layers of photographs and messages people have left, mourning the dogs they've lost, and the occasional cat, missing them. Heather Berkey drove 7.5 hours from outside Philadelphia to honor her Vizsla, Lexi, who had died a few weeks before from cancer. She brought some of Lexi's ashes to spread.
You run free. Love you. Love you, Lexi. To have her up here and free. I don't know.
Does it help?
There's no words.
How many places are there where society lets you grieve for a dog with all your heart the way you would a person? The way I have dogs in my life.
Do you believe that dogs go to heaven?
I would like to think yes.
Susan Oladol is an Episcopal priest.
I come here almost every day. I volunteer here.
Whose ministry includes comforting people at Dog Mountain.
Stephen Hunick has a great whimsical piece of art that's entitled "A Dog Has a Soul," and the dog is holding the shoelace with a shoe attached.
For all the humor in his work, Stephen Hunick struggled with depression. Here's the sad part of this story. Afraid he would have to close Dog Mountain and his gallery as a result of the Great Recession, in January 2010, Hunick died by suicide. 3 years later, his wife, Gwen, took her own life.
You have a place of joy, you have a place of love, but you also have the suicides of Stephen and Gwen. How do you square that with the wonder of the place?
I don't think they're to be squared. It's only a piece of a story, and the story of what they have left behind, this gift, is where most other people and myself are greatly impacted by.
The Hunick's dream lives on.
One of the things that the Hunicks kind of realize is every little child that's ever fallen in love with the Sally books, when they get to come to Dog Mountain and actually meet the Sally, it's one of those things that they feel so special.
Amanda McDermott is creative director of Dog Mountain, and the person who cares for the current Sally.
So this is just like a postcard.
Oh, it's beautiful up here.
There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much space.
3 times a year, Dog Mountain has a party.
I'm looking for some dancers out in the crowd today.
Hundreds of dogs and their people show up. This one was in October. It was a free-to-all, free-for-all.
Whoops, I'm sorry. Girlie!
But in spite of all the playful chaos, I managed a quiet moment to slip into the chapel and find a place to leave my message, to tell the dogs I've lost that I love them still, and hope that wherever they are, they know.
Phil Curtis and Dolly Anagnostis lived in the same town on the Maine coast for 40 years.
Phil and his family lived on Winter Street, which ran this way,
Mm-hmm.
and me and my family lived on Summer Street, which ran this way.
They literally intersected.
Yes, they did.
Phil's daughter babysat Dolly's kids. He taught her kids math, and coached her son's tennis team.
I was a member of the church. Phil just barely joined.
I sang in the choir,
Okay.
but I attended the church when I wasn't playing tennis.
Phil's wife, Catherine, and Dolly were good friends.
Dolly actually was one of the eulogists in her funeral.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Driving up the Maine coast together to hear Phil's daughter, Katie, sing, the two friends found themselves talking about grief.
It just came out all of a sudden.
Feelings you didn't even realize that you had.
Actually, I hadn't exposed my feelings to many people in my lifetime.
Dolly, did you sense that when you guys were talking?
Absolutely. It was a new Phil that I didn't know at all.
Coming home after the concert, Dolly knew something had changed.
I have never gotten out of anybody's car so fast in all my life. I just jumped out of the car, said, "Thank you, bye." And even at this age, I had no idea how to deal with that.
It took some time, but eventually Phil and Dolly married. He was 80. She was 71. On their wedding cake, a ship that Phil had tattooed on his arm.
This acronym says, "We only go this way once." We had both thought that our ships had sailed.
Yes, we had.
A love story like this calls for a honeymoon for the books. And so it was that for their honeymoon,
Paris or Hawaii, that's what people will say. But not Phil and Dolly, they don't do things that way.
Phil and Dolly decided to visit a Maine landmark.
Rennie's, a Maine adventure.
Now, if you're not from Maine, you wouldn't know that this is that landmark, Rennie's department store. Never heard of Rennie's?
Well, it's an exciting store.
We'll let John Rennie explain.
We try to have different merchandise come into the store every day, 5 days a week, so it makes it exciting. You know, it's always something new.
His dad opened the first store in Damariscotta in 1949. The family's been running it ever since.
Rennie's candy bars are a favorite.
Daughter Faustine manages operations. Furniture,
toys,
yoga mats,
Oh, yeah.
hair products,
Yes.
dog biscuits.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of that you have.
Anything that's not in a refrigerator.
With riches like that, why just visit one store when you can head to all 17 Rennie's department stores in Maine?
700 miles of driving, that's one way to say I love you.
Daughter Katie Curtis thought it was the sort of honeymoon that deserved a song.
I thought it was totally ridiculous and wonderful.
Turns out their wedding day was also the day of Rennie's annual early bird sale. And, well,
Hello.
Phil never got there that day. Were you obsessed with it?
I was obsessed with buying things at discounts. But the idea of our honeymoon going to Rennie's stores
Was actually my idea.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know, it just dawned. And he's silly enough to say, "Yeah, let's do it." So off we went.
They'll go to Pittsfield and Camden, Ellsworth and Saco.
Here you go, right here.
We thought John and Faustine Rennie might like to meet two of their most devoted customers.
Well, right now I'm wearing a nice Pendleton shirt.
From Rennie's.
And of course my wigwam socks.
John,
Yes?
can you shoot Phil a 10% discount on the wigwam socks or something? I mean,
We'll work on it.
okay, Phil, we've got it on
I
camera.
appreciate that.
So, there you have it. A love story, hopefully with discounts.
Club Med better than a cruise. Phil and Dolly's honeymoon.
We're headed to beautiful Block Island off the Rhode Island coast, where Martha Teichner takes us on a most unusual treasure hunt.
So you've taken the ferry from the mainland, and you're hiking one of Block Island's more than 30 miles of trails. And then, what in the world?
I got one!
Bingo! You've just become one of the lucky ones.
7 years! Oh my God!
People who, since 2012, have been finding Block Island's hidden treasure. Hand-blown glass orbs like these.
Beautiful.
It was all Eben Horton's idea. He and his wife Jennifer Knock are glass artists in the village of Wakefield on the Rhode Island coast.
When the economy slowed down, it was hard to sell my glass. So I came up with this idea to make glass floats, hide them on Block Island, and whoever found them could keep them. I think the first year we made 150.
Now they make 550.
It's sort of incredible, the life that it's taken on.
And float hunting has become one of Block Island's biggest tourist attractions. Eben etches the number and the year on each one. Most of them are clear, but the first few, 22 and 2022, are colored. Number 1 is always special.
This is float number 1.
In 2021, this glass version of a lobster buoy.
You want to try it?
Sure. To my amazement.
So grab it right about there.
Here?
Yeah.
The one I was allowed to make?
Perfect.
Turned out all right.
And I could hide one right there. Or right there.
The orbs get hidden only on public land, a few at a time between early June and mid-October. The places call out to you.
Yes.
At first, Eben and Jen could just head over with a backpack full of floats, or orbs, in broad daylight, and hide them without attracting attention. Not anymore. Are you looking for something?
Oh, I'm always looking for orbs.
Oh.
Isn't everybody?
So many people recognize Eben now, and even stalk him, that like Santa, he's got helpers. You've been a hider.
I have.
A secret society.
We're a secret society, exactly. Well, it does start the first weekend in June. So
Jessica Willey is head of the Block Island Tourism Council, which helps subsidize the cost of the glass float project.
So we'll go to register a float.
She also oversees the website where finders register their finds.
So just gets people out on the trails and enjoying the beauty, the natural beauty of Block Island.
It's only 7 miles long and 3 miles wide, but nearly half of it is protected open space, meaning loads of stunning hiding spots. The question is, how long will the orbs stay hidden?
And there's probably about 5,000 to 10,000 people looking in a year, I'd say. People that want one really want one.
Or more than one.
Well, this is the Orb Shrine.
People like Jackie and Dave Carpenter. That's a map of Block Island.
Sure is. Yep, it is been made to show where every single orb has been found on the island. 6 orbs so far.
The Carpenters are orbivores, as orb hunters refer to themselves, and a little on the fanatical side.
Generally speaking, it's just the stick is the most important thing anybody who comes out looking, besides having a good attitude and open mind. Off we go.
Lead the way. This is how they spend their vacation every year. Literally beating the bushes.
Remember, the orb will always find you. Yeah, I feel lucky today.
Sure enough, exactly an hour and a half after setting out,
Oh!
Mr. Lucky found himself a float.
No.
That's a bingo.
No.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that, a rainbow.
That's beautiful. Remember, thousands of people hunt for years without finding one. So are you done for the year, or do you keep
never done.
looking?
No, you're never done.
But according to the rules, you can only keep one per person per year. Here's where float finding gets complicated.
It's literally right there.
Because, what do you know?
Would you like to see what you missed?
What a day! But they'd already found one. So back into hiding it went.
Yeah, it's in there.
Now I promise you, there was nothing rigged about any of this.
Wait, I think I found one.
But guess what?
I found one!
You did find one! Yes!
Yup, me.
Martha, that's so exciting!
2021, number 143.
Yay! There we go.
What makes a plain glass ball suddenly priceless, with the capacity to bring joy?
Yep. Right?
I don't know.
Awesome.
In that order, too.
P.S. Remember the orb I made? 2 days after I hid it, a woman from just north of New York City, Debbie Croon, spotted it. She'd been trying to find one for 8 years.
Why on earth would we begin this holiday show behind bars? With Nancy Giles, you're about to find out.
Along Route 1 in Thomaston, Maine, is a store filled with crafts. Birdhouses and dollhouses, salad bowls and sailing ships, all made in Maine state prisons.
We found the quality to be excellent.
Ted and Barbara Widmeyer have been shopping here for decades.
It's very nice that somebody who is perhaps in a place that he or she wishes she weren't still has the spirit to make something nice like that.
Prison inmates have been making things in Maine since the 1800s, when selling sleighs and wagons helped defray costs. Today, a whole range of crafts support the workshops in Maine's maximum security prison in Warren.
I mean, I can't control everything that happens in prison. Nobody can. But when I'm sitting at that computer designing something that's going to be lasered, I'm not in prison. I'm not there. I am focused on this that's going to bring somebody pleasure.
Ron Bubar was 24 when he began serving his time. That was 33 years ago.
When I came to prison, there wasn't computers. I had to teach myself. Didn't even know how to turn them on. So I taught myself how to do this stuff.
How did you learn that?
It's a lot of trial and error.
Charlie Jones came here when he was 20, sentenced to 75 years in a state where there is no parole. In the workshops, he discovered he had a talent for carving.
Every time that I carved something, I thought, man, how the hell am I going to do this? But as you take one piece off and you start to see more, then you just kind of go.
One of Charlie's earlier projects was this golden eagle, which he learned to carve from a book.
I just kind of went by that and tried to just duplicate it.
You just kind of went by that.
I have a ability to endure monotony. Carving the feathers was kind of therapeutic. I could just do it, and once you can get a rhythm going, it's all right.
It's amazing the amount of talent that the residents have here. More than 100 residents working here daily. They do about $1.6 million worth of work out of this facility.
That much?
They do.
Randall Liberty is commissioner of Maine's Department of Corrections. For people who might think, lock the door and throw away the key, why are they getting an opportunity to get training, to be educated? What would you say to them?
Whatever side of the political spectrum you may be on, there's a win here for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If you spend $46,000 a year to house someone in a correctional facility and they come back because they receive no programming to address the core reasons why they arrived here, it's stupid money.
One of Maine's programs allows residents to earn a college degree. The money for it was donated by Doris Buffett, Warren's sister, who lived in Rockland, Maine.
She gave us an initial $2 million donation, and that's the best money I've ever seen invested in anyone.
Ron Bubar is a graduate. Charlie Jones is, too.
The college program is noticeably magnificent.
Noticeably magnificent?
Yes. When we used to walk the chow, you could hear people talking in the back about some MS-13 story they heard, or the people in front of you talking about how they used to cook meth. But now, when you go to chow, you might hear one of those conversations in front of you, but behind you, you hear somebody talking about their philosophy class or their history class.
The individuals that graduate have about a 5% return rate, recidivism rate, as opposed to a 60 to 65% nationally.
That means 95% of the people who go through this program don't go back.
That's correct.
When Doris Buffett died in 2020, Charlie was asked if he could make something to honor her. This is what Charlie made: a table with legs made of books. On their spines, the names of courses open to prison residents and the professors who teach them. On the table, a book telling Doris Buffett's story. and a thank you note.
There's only so many opportunities that you have in here to kind of like touch the world.
In Portland, Maine, this fall, an exhibition of art by those serving time in Maine prisons.
And this is what he really sees.
Part of a year-long project to shine a light on parts of prison life not often seen.
It's all from the heart. That's what I like about this.
Curator Jan Collins is assistant director of the Maine Prisoner Advocacy Coalition.
Sometimes it's an expression of longing more than anything. We have people who have used paper bags because that's the only thing they had to work with.
Your eye sort of moves.
Yes.
It's not just one.
Co-curator Olivia Hochstadt graduated from Colby College with a degree in art history last year.
Had you ever been in a prison before?
No, no.
What was your perception before you went in?
Just sort of images of like sweaty guys who work out, maybe not friendly. That's just not been true. I mean, maybe they work out. But what surprised me the most was how kind the people I met were. Respectful, courteous, I really believe that some of those guys are nicer than men that I've met outside.
One of the pieces, a web of crochet work.
And as we were working with the artist on this, he said, what I really want is to write tags on each of the pieces, like price tags, but not price tags, because I want to write the intent behind the art.
We want people to know that every person in here has a family on the outside that cares about them. My brother's coming to see the show. My daughter's going to be here. And, we want them to see something they can be really proud of.
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about people that are in prison?
I think that they're throwaways. We have to ask ourselves, do we believe in redemption? And I think that we all believe in redemption when it applies to us. When it applies to other people, we're reluctant to do that.
For Charlie Jones, the existential questions are deep and persistent.
I've been here for murder. I got 75 years. I've been in prison longer than I was alive when I committed my crime. If I say to myself, I want to fulfill the purpose of what the people who put me here intended for this to be, what am I supposed to be doing? When, if anything, would that purpose be fulfilled? And for the people that you hurt, what has to be done for them, for those people to say, okay, I now see that that wasn't a monster, that was a stupid kid.
Steve Hartman this morning is all about taking care of business.
Here in Norwich, Vermont, for more than a century, this general store has been as much a fixture in the community as the church steeple. But then that sign went up, screaming a desperate need in neon orange, a warning sign of an end approaching. Dan Frazier is the owner of Dan and Wits.
How many openings did you have?
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah. It was like, we're going to have to lock the front door because we have zero help.
This was your dad's business. This was your grandfather's business.
Right.
And it was going to close on your watch?
Yeah, which would be tough when you've invested your whole life into it.
Customers were equally devastated. Of course, that happens whenever a small town loses an iconic business. But what sets this place apart is that these customers didn't just give Dan their sympathies. They gave him their applications.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, it's so nice to be here.
This retired finance director applied for a job in the deli.
There we go.
Dr. Rick Farrell is working checkout.
I'm just trying to get the cash register to work.
People from all over town and all walks of life
Sign in.
punched in to help Dan stay open.
There I am.
I'm a therapist, teacher, second grade teacher, professor of psychology, principal of the middle school. I'm an RN.
So far, nearly 24 customers, like Diane Miller, have stepped up.
Because Dan and Wits is the heartbeat of this community.
It's the heart of our town.
For some reason,
The heart of the town.
I really got this sense
It's the heart of this town.
that Dan and his store are the heart of the town.
Yep.
And as if stocking shelves and running register weren't enough, virtually all of these new hires are donating their hourly wage to some of Dan's favorite charities. Dan says this has all been just the help he needed.
Absolutely. The fact that the community stepped up, you know? I mean, sometimes it takes sort of a crisis, if you will, to appreciate what you have.
And in Norwich, they have what every town needs more than anything.
Thank you.
Each other.
We've all seen one, that spooky abandoned house that trick-or-treaters are likely to avoid. Our Martha Teichner dared to take a guided tour.
It's definitely creepy, so it's the perfect house. It's the kind of house I like to shoot.
Brian Sansevero makes his living, yes, photographing abandoned houses.
If there was going to be a haunted house, it would probably be this one. I'll say that.
Halloween is his kind of holiday.
I love horror movies, I love horror, and I love old architecture.
This grand old wreck in eastern Connecticut was irresistible because it was in the 1971 horror flick Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
I don't feel terrible peeking, but this is as far as we're going.
Yes.
Sansevero has ground rules. No entering unless doors or windows are wide open. No taking anything out, or for that matter, bringing anything in to stage his pictures. No need for that. Just look at what he's found. Eerie, mysterious, time capsules. Rooms that look as if their occupants just up and left, taking nothing with them. Decades ago. A new book of Brian Sansevero's photographs is out, of course, today, Halloween.
You see stuff online, Google Maps, you'll find stuff from above, satellite view, in rural areas mostly. I'll look at the roofs, see if they look kind of run down. I'll look for dead trees, and then you go into street view and you can see these houses from the front and you can say, oh, well, that's definitely abandoned.
The best ones, he thinks, are on the East Coast, especially in the South. He's photographed over 500. Some he's found on his own, others through friends.
There's definitely a big community of urban explorers established online through Instagram, Facebook, lots of different websites where you can meet people, talk to people about houses, locations.
But out of respect for the houses, he's careful.
So I try and keep to myself a lot of the locations because, you know, you gotta trust the people that you give locations to because you don't know who they're going there with, what the intentions are. So this is a Rolleiflex from 1959. So the pictures will have a nice vintage look to it, and that's just something that I love.
This house, also in eastern Connecticut, probably dates back to the 1700s.
Looks like family photographs.
Yeah.
Here's a calendar.
May 1963.
You definitely feel a sense of sadness, almost like a sense of loss, because you're seeing all these things left behind, and you realize that a family used to live here.
Strange that it looks like somebody got out of bed and disappeared.
Yep.
Often someone has died, and no one is left to live in a home.
Ooh, it smells really funky.
Or maintain it.
This is clearly the way somebody left it.
And there's spider webs on the vines.
Boy, that looks like Halloween if I ever saw Halloween.
And look at the bird's nest up in the corner there.
Oh, look at that.
Brian Sansevero has photographed houses, then come back and found them gone, which makes what he does feel important.
I feel like my pictures are part of the legacy in the fact that they are preserving how it once looked or how it may have looked, you know, the last time someone lived there. So in a way, you know, my pictures are art, but also it is preserving the history.
And where does he live? Next to an abandoned orphanage, a spooky hulk of a place. You could have guessed.
It's exciting and it's thrilling and it just makes me feel happy to be in a place that has just beautiful architecture.
Now, if he could just get inside.
Steve Hartman has a tale from the sea that you might say is strictly for the birds. One in particular.
It can be a lonely job, pulling lobster traps way out here in the middle of the Gulf of Maine. But for 15 years, Captain John Mikowski had company, a faithful companion. In fact, he says, maybe a little too faithful.
She comes right up to the window and is looking at me this far away. I mean, it's just staring at me.
John's stalker girlfriend, who he named Red Eye, showed up one day in 2005 and basically never left. Until a few months ago, when Red Eye suffered a leg injury. John knew a seagull couldn't live long like that.
How hard was it for him?
Oh, very, very difficult.
John's wife, Debbie.
To watch John and to see how sad he was. I could tear up right now.
I don't know why I was so emotionally crushed, but there was a piece missing. I was beginning to wonder how much longer I felt like doing this.
So, in an attempt to save his passion for the sea, he tried to save that seagull. Actually caught her and brought her to the Center for Wildlife in Cape Cod, Maine. The staff nursed Red Eye while John spoiled her with brown hake, her favorite kind of fish. And would you believe, just a few weeks later, Red Eye was good as new. Earlier this month, John released the bird back into the wild.
Perfect.
Of course, the wild was never really Red Eye's thing, which is why, still today, no matter where John is in this great ocean,
That's her.
Red Eye somehow finds him.
Atta girl.
For centuries, boat captains have believed seagulls carry the souls of lost sailors. And for this fourth-generation lobsterman, that is a comforting thought, that maybe Red Eye is an ancestor looking out for him. But John says it's more about something far less mystical. It's about the purpose that is found whenever two living creatures truly need each other.
To Elaine Quijano, and a treasured American painter whose passion is putting the work of other artists on display.
When Alex Katz began painting more than 75 years ago, he ignored what was popular then to pursue his passion, figurative art.
Most people didn't like my work, you know?
Did that hurt?
Most people, yeah, didn't like it. A, it was figurative and everyone was abstract and then it was pop on. A lot of people didn't like it.
What was that like for you?
I really didn't care that much what they thought. You know, if they liked it, well, if they didn't like it, go to hell.
Katz depicts recognizable figures and objects from the real world. Using unfussy backgrounds and large areas of color, he emphasizes shapes and outlines and paints massive pieces, often with his wife Ada as his subject.
I did the figures on the flat ground. I did the double portraits of Ada. I did the big heads before anyone. And that's really aggressive. And the big compositions. No one had done anything like it.
Katz grew up in Queens, New York, and attended the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture in Maine. He's been honing his technique ever since. In 1986, Sunday Morning documented his artistic process.
If you go close to these and look at them, they're done very simply.
These days, the art world has caught up to Alex Katz's talent. His paintings can sell for millions of dollars, and exhibitions around the world have highlighted his work, including this show in 2022 at New York's Guggenheim Museum. Now famed for his portraits, Katz is also highly regarded for his landscapes, often inspired by the picturesque scenes near his summer studio in Maine.
It's a long way from Queens.
It's a long way from Queens, but it is like Queens. It's all kind of small.
Katz says painting the outdoors heightened his creativity.
I thought I was connected with outdoor painting, but actually I was connecting with myself. The painting was no longer cerebral, it was coming from the inside.
This summer, Alex Katz turned 98, and after a lifetime painting, he's focused on the work of other artists.
This is a classic Hartley. You have all the power of Maine, the figure and the landscape, color and line. It looks like something that Alex would love.
He gifted a collection of more than 100 paintings by emerging and established artists to Maine's Portland Museum of Art.
As the art world has moved different ways and fashions, Alex has always stayed true to himself.
Mark Basir is the museum's director.
I see his love of artists taking chance and his love of artists emanating that sense of energy that he likes in a painting. He doesn't like a painting because it looks like his or it's figurative. He likes it because it's got the energy and it pops.
The exhibit is called Painting Energy.
If you had to use words to describe the sensation of looking at some of
It's
those
just like
paintings.
a pow. You get it right through the air. It's very quick.
A pow.
Yeah. Sometimes you can get a whole show, as they open the elevator door, blink and shut it. You know what this painting is about.
I made the figures with 1, 2, 3, 4 strokes of paint.
One painting that gave him that pow was Catherine Bradford's piece, Shadows.
What was your reaction when you learned that Alex Katz had bought one of your paintings?
I just felt, oh, well, maybe I am a little good. And Alex Katz, he certainly is really good. Good eye, good person.
Bradford didn't start painting until her 30s. Now she's 83, and her pieces typically sell for tens of thousands of dollars.
Alex Katz is a leader in contemporary art, but in the state of Maine, he's king, and we all look up to him. He decided to use what he had gained to give back to artists, to buy artists' work.
Why did you want to have a collection of other artists' paintings?
Well, I want to help other people who went through the same difficulty that I did. You know, I know every little help I got in that period from 25, 30, I really appreciated.
Like when a paint manufacturer who recognized Katz's talent early on gave him art supplies as part of a deal.
You got 5 or 6 little paintings, and I had free paints, but the big thing was that someone believed there was something in me.
Alex Katz still works 7 days a week and is still taking risks.
Sometime in about a week, I'll do the first painting of the new series.
And you seem excited about that.
I'm excited and frightened.
Frightened?
Yeah, I'm scary whether it won't work out.
So after all that you've accomplished, you still worry?
I want to go where I'm scared. The new things might be better, they might be worse, but I have to do them.
When it comes to honoring the flag, few of us can match the enthusiasm of the little patriot. Here's Steve Hartman.
For 6-year-old Finn Daly of West Hartford, Connecticut, the best view in his house is from the front door looking up at the flag. Finn has Down syndrome. He's also autistic, a combination that, according to his parents, Kevin and Brooke, has blessed him with a deep appreciation for the flag.
I think it's the movement.
If it's moving, if the wind is blowing, he would sit there for an hour and just watch the flag go back and forth, which is kind of the beauty of Finn, too.
Somehow, he has found comfort and contentment in a sight most of us take for granted. And it's not just his own flag.
We're fortunate we have a lot of flags in the neighborhood, so it creates for very long and slow walks. Come on, buddy.
And it was on one of those walks with the family that Finn discovered his flag de resistance.
Here's your flag.
Oh.
A real beauty, mounted on a tree, hanging right over the sidewalk a quarter mile from his house. Finn would make camp on that sidewalk if you let him. He is that enamored. The flag belongs to a man named Todd Disk.
The boy would just sit there transfixed by the flag.
What did you think when you saw that?
I was like, God bless America. this kid wants to look at my flag, then I'm all for it.
Which is why, not long after he saw Finn, he sawed some boards and made a little perch for that little patriot. Just left it out by the tree for Finn's family to discover.
What do you think? And I'm crying, and my daughter Rose is saying, "Don't cry, Mom, it's okay. This is exciting." Just a little overwhelming, but in a good way.
Norman Rockwell couldn't have imagined a more uniquely American moment. A vision of strength and compassion in one glorious frame. All created by a master of kindness with nothing more on his palette than a circular saw and an eye for empathy.
It's such a small gesture, but things like this really restore your faith in humanity. Like, there's still good people out there that want to do kind things for no other reason but just to be kind.
For no other reason, which may be the best reason of all.
What are you doing, Finny? Do you see our flag?
You're doing